So, I'll start with you, Marquina, just work our way down. Um, you, you're a contractor. All of y'all are contractors. I think Martin, you work for you're not a contractor. You work for the contracting arm. But so I've got two contractors and the person who runs a citywide government contracting office. Tell me what's wrong with government contracting for Black people.
Well, anything that you do with the government is going to require that you jump through millions of hoops. And so, being kind of grandfathered in with others who have gone before you, who can train you in that, is going to be an advantage to anybody. And that's just in general. So you see a lot of people who have these construction companies have fathers and uncles and grandfathers who done this work, and they train them, do this, do that, da, 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 da. But then there's also the human element. Doesn't matter what you do, we can't get away from that. Government contracting and just construction in general is very subjective. It's very dependent upon who you know, making those connections, because even when you try to regulate things, there's a way that you can say, well, they didn't meet this criteria, they didn't meet this standard, or they didn't do this, and basically you're giving it to people you're comfortable with. And you can justify, the way things are set up, you can justify doing that. So for minorities, it's hard to get in because of, one, all the hoops that you got to jump through and nobody's teaching you about how to do that. And then two, really not knowing who you need to know to get your foot in the door, because once you do and you get some experience, and you've done some really good projects, people will look for you. It takes a minute. But getting to that place is not designed for you to get to that place. Let me just say that. And so this is where the challenge comes for minority contractors.
Same question.
Well, the problem was until someone of conscience got in office or in place, such as myself, it was always, we'll get to them, or they're not good enough, or they're not capable, or they don't have enough capacity, they don't have the bonding, they don't have anything. So what I've done is create carve-outs. What I've done is try to partner them with developers. So now I'm creating something called JC Caps, which is Contractor Apprenticeship Program. So these big developers can now bring in some smaller GCs or subcontractors out of the city, and it's twofold. It helps them, but it also helps the economy in Jersey City. Now we're hiring locally, but the powers that be don't see my reality, so it's a fight. So as much as the government has the strongholds, I'm working more with contractors. Like, I work for them, and I'm always trying to put something together and put them in place where they're consciously and forever being in front, because a lot of times they get pushed to the side because they don't look like the people they're used to, their cousins. Let's be 100. The thing that's happening, especially in New Jersey, is that favoritism is my cousin. I don't care, he just got out of high school, he just started Bobo's contracting, give him something. And instead, like the sister here, she has a contract, she's reputable, but she won't get it because it's not what you know, it's who you know. So we got to change those complexities, we got to change those ideas. But what happens is, somebody like me, what I know I am, I'm a disruptor. I'm going to constantly be that. But what happens is that I hear Martin's story. I hear the stories of the ones in the city that I know came up. And so you say, hey, Kay, what do we do? How do we do? So I got something called Jersey City Wants to Do Business with You. So I put them in front of more than just Jersey City. Housing, Jersey City Public Housing, the library, other entities that have procurement. That now not only do you work with the city, you work with anchor institutions, because what I want to do is set you up for winning as opposed to losing. So if I give you more opportunity in a room, it's up to you to be in a room with them. A lot of times I know a lot of mom and pop can't get out. So we do it online, I do one-on-ones. Because what I won't do is sit there and not help you when I have the ability to help you.
Mark, same question to you.
Okay. So government contracting, there's two types of government contracting, right? So government contracting for people in general, it's like a Social Security check. It's from the government. You're going to get it on time every time. So if you have a business, you got steady work, steady check. You're not worried about them going out of business and not paying the bill. You can move on to other things. You can expand your mind, right? Be entrepreneurial. because you got a guaranteed something coming in. That's how all these big corporations, Elon Musk, the center of his business is a government contract. Same thing for Amazon. It's a government contract, right? The cloud, that's where the real money is, right? So that's why people in general want a government contract. But then there's government contracting for black people. That's the big hustle, right? That's the scam. There ain't no black contracting for you. It ain't happening. Don't get it twisted. It's not there. In the state of New Jersey, we found out over a 5-year period, they did a study, and they said of all the government contracts that went out, African Americans got equal 10% of the businesses who are eligible for government contracts are black. 10%. 1 out of every 10 businesses is black. We got 0.14% of the business, a little over 0.1%. So government contracting, it's the big hustle. Here's the problem, and this is what got me started, right? So it's not the fact that that's the case. I'm black, born black, die black. I know I start behind the starting line. That's just my lot. But when you tell me go down there because 20 to 30% of businesses, minorities are going to get government contracts, I'm like, are you serious? Yeah. All right, then I'll go down there. Like Marquita says, it's not easy. It's a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of following what you need to do. So you're trying to keep your business in business, and you're trying to fill out a form for some pie in the sky at the same time, but you think there's real pie. No, there's not. You're wasting your time and your money and your energy, and that energy could have went into really driving your business. So it's a double-edged sword. So that's what I feel about government contracting, and that's why I'm here today.
So to keep that, because I'll work my way back this way. So people go, what do we do about it? We can't have a solution. Your work, and all of you guys are working on solutions, right? And you've actually engaged the government at a level. Talk a little bit about what you're trying to do to make that 0.14% get to at least 1%.
Well, I guess the first thing I decided was that my life and my future and that of my family and people I love and care about is not a spectator sport. You can't sit in the stands and look and comment, oh, he ran left, he should have ran. Yeah, no. It's not a spectator sport. Kevin asked me point blank, because Kevin was the one that keyed me into what was happening with this government contracting. Because I have a trucking company, we try to get involved with cannabis. A friend that knows Kevin, I was telling him what kind of problems we had. He said, contact Kevin down in D.C. He's a good friend of mine. He knows a little bit about it. Maybe he could help you. So we started off on that level. And Kevin kind of clued me into what was going on, and some time went by, and we just left that alone because it wasn't going to happen for us. And we licked our wounds, and 6-7 months later, I called Kevin. I said, hey, Kevin, man, we're going for government contracting. Now, I live in New York. I live right by New York City. The biggest government contracts in the country. They're building the tunnel to New York, to New Jersey. They're building the JFK Airport, Newark Airport, the port of Elizabeth. It's crazy how much government contract goes on over there. So I said, this is what I'm doing, Kevin. Kevin called me up a few days later. He said, Martin, I'm glad you're doing a government contracting, but you know about the disparity study that came out? I said, no. He said, I sent it to you. Read it, call me back. I called him back. I was crushed. I was floored. I was so angry. And I called Kevin back, and I was just venting and venting and venting and venting. And Kevin just listening, not saying a word. And when I finished, he says, okay, Martin, that's all well and good. I understand what you're saying. But let me ask you this question. What are you going to do about it? At that point, I was no longer a spectator. I said, I don't know, Kevin, but I'm going to figure it out. And I called him back a couple days later, and that's when we started the New Jersey Policy Initiative. And I got to tell you, the things we've done will make your head spin. And it took nothing but a little bit of effort. And just like Dr. Wendy Muhammad, every penny that was spent doing it came out of my pocket, right? I hate to take a look at how much money I've really spent, but I could tell you the things that are happening. We found out really quickly, the first meeting we had about 20, 25 people came out to this meeting, and little did we know that one of the people in the meeting was somebody from the office of a woman named Mikey Sherrill. Mikey Sherrill is now the governor of the state of New Jersey. Mikey Sherrill has been watching what we've been doing from day one. And I've yet to speak to her, but I know I will. There's no question I will. So anyway, that's my story.
Dr. G?
Wow. I feel like I'm getting beat up, but I'm a big boy. I got my big boy pants on today. What it is that what I've done from my seat, and Kevin is always encouraging me, you got to stay in the room. Because what happens if I move out the room? Now we have no hope. So what I've done was with big developers that are coming out, and I just did something in Jersey City, a job fair with Albanese development, a big development. I brought together a job fair where I brought over 200 people. They hired 30 people already, which is, for a job fair, they usually do it for optics. But I made sure, because my grandson was in that number. I had a personal interest in it. However, what happened is I got all the black contractors, construction. I was like, listen, this is where you want to be at. And what I did was tell the owner of the company, which he showed up. I say, this is my cousin, that's my nephew, this is who. And they got interviews. Some of them got hired as supervisors. And sometimes it's those little wins that you say, you know what? I'm in the room. Had I ran on emotions, and I always say, you don't do things on emotion because you're going to mess up. Mm-hmm. And Kevin, and I can hear Kevin, just stay in the room. We need you in the room because I'm ready to jump out the room and do something else. However, I think being in the room helps me better because now I can work with other people who are seeing what is necessary and knowing that we are not we're not no punks, we're not no pushovers, and we're not begging you for a contract. We are skilled, we have what it takes. But what happened is we haven't had someone to have a voice for us or to be an advocate for us. And I champion for you because you know what? You are me, and I am you. So sometimes you have to put yourself in situations where someone did not tell me, and I said it like this, they told me I would be dead or in jail. Mm-hmm. So to have a doctorate, to be here, to be able to be an advocate for somebody else, listen, man, I'm in for the win. So Martin is my brother. We come up here, we come in Jersey. He's like, gee, I'm here. Like, let's do this because what happens is skin folk ain't always kinfolk. But when you got somebody who's genuine and organic like Kevin and listen, you get in where you fit in, but you go in for the win.
Awesome.
Same question to you.
Yeah, so I have a lot to say. I'm going to see if I can condense this. I don't know if I can, so just cut me off
I'm going to let you
when
talk
you need
until
to.
they send me the sign.
Okay, good. That's what we do. Okay. I have multiple businesses. I usually speak representing Kingdom Wealth. But Kingdom Wealth, my coaching business, creates wealth for other people. But my contracting business is the one that has created wealth for me and my family. And so when I speak off of experience of creating wealth, I'm speaking from the contracting experience.
I'm going to ask you one question real quick. So because we talked about this 8A, you've gotten contracts through your business, but you've never gotten a federal government contract.
No, we have government contracts, but not through 8A.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so this we're going to talk about. So the contracting business that I have is a construction business, construction company. We specialize in flooring. It is over 20 years old. My son's 21, so it's about as old as him. And to start it was sacrifice. You know, we don't have groceries, we don't have furniture. We're focusing on building this business. But it took two people. And because, I'm a Class A contractor. I hold a contractor's license. The Class A contractor or the contractor, the one who has the license, is the person that's doing all that paperwork you're talking about, Martin. That's who that person is. In order to get that license, you also need the experienced employee. That's the person that's doing the actual work. Most of the time, we assume, as we're building minority businesses, that person is going to be one person. It's going to be one person that's that person, but it's not ideal. It's not ideal. Ideally, it needs to be two different people, ideally. And the reason that's important is because it is a lot. It's a lot of paperwork. You cannot do the work well when you're having to do all of that other stuff. And it's so important that we kind of realize what goes into it. You need the person who's going to be on their knees installing the floor or building the building or whatever, and then you need the person who's running people down, sitting at the table, following up, holding people accountable, checking, the bids, who got it, why did they get it, you need that person, and that's a full-time job. That person cannot be on the job site. But the challenge is there's got to be trust in that relationship that I'm describing, because the Class A contract, which is what I am, I haven't put one floor in my whole life. I can supervise and tell you what doesn't look right about it, but I'm on a different side. But the Class A contractor, that person ideally is the person who hired the experienced one. But the experienced one is usually the one who wanted to start the business. So among African Americans, who do you trust like that? You see what I'm saying? That person is really the one at the table speaking on behalf of you while you're out doing the work, and they're making sure you get every dime that you're supposed to get, but at the end of the day, they could fire you. Do we trust anybody like that? Because if it's you trying to do both, it's really not realistic. When you look in mainstream communities, you're going to see that people are working. You got two brothers working. You got a husband and a wife. You got a father and a son. There's a reason for that. You see what I'm saying? So that they can actually do all of these functions together. And it stays within the family. There's going to be a code that it does stay within the family. And it's generational. And the son is going to take over next. We don't have that type of code. We don't have that type of commitment. And so it's hard for us to carry something forward that long and go through all those hoops. That's one side. Second side is now we've got programs. Like Martin just said, this stand over there, you'll get the money. 8A program, SBA is doing all type of stuff for us. None of that stuff ever helped us, but it required a whole bunch from us. It required a lot from us, but we've never received one contract from it. 7-figure business because we've done the work ourselves. We went after the contracts. We were looking to see who was bidding what and making sure we submitted things to to general contractors. The challenge is, I'm actually a general contractor. My contract license is a general contractor, but I'm not general. But I had to get that license for our business to actually be able to succeed. You see what I'm saying? See, we do floors, but I have to be a general contractor in order for us to be able to do the things that we need to do. Are we willing to do all those things? And are we willing to train young people to invest? Because they're not going to get the money that they would get if they go out and learn gaming and do it tomorrow. You're not going to be a millionaire tomorrow. This took 20 years. Are you willing to build generational wealth and sacrifice for some time? And is somebody going to help you? Because you are not going to figure it out by yourself. You're going to need people to go ahead of you. And then we have to deal with the policy. You see what I'm saying? So we got all these layers. All of that is against us. But what I know is, I remember my mama taught me when I was a little girl, we got to teach this next generation as well. We know we have to be better than everybody else to be successful. It's not enough for us to be as good, ever. And that's not fair, but it's the truth. We have to be so exceptional that when they need a good job done, doesn't matter what we look like, they have to call us because we're the best to do it.
Is it realistic? Is it realistic given
to me?
Given even in Virginia that you as a general contractor never got an 8A contract, so we know 8A doesn't work. Martin's telling me it's 0.14% Jersey overall. We know in Minnesota it's less than 1%. Is it real? Without policy changes, is it realistic that we can? I mean, there's only going to be a few people. Like some people do get contracts, 0.14%, right? Mm-hmm. But that's not sustainable, or is it not? It's not. It's how do we get to at least 5%? Hard work doesn't seem to be the right answer here, but maybe I'm wrong.
Hard work is necessary, but systemic change is also necessary if we want to see that type of percentage growth. You're going to see people who eke through. There's always going to be people like us who push through because we're not going to stop. Yeah, you understand what I mean? Right. But for us to see the percentages increase, we do need systemic change. Hence the New Jersey Policy Initiative, hence the Central Virginia Economic Initiative. There's work we've got to do, hence the work you do. There's work we have to do. But let me say this, and we got to be honest. We got to be honest with our young people. If they're trying to make money quick, black people have always been an asset. So if they get a job in somebody else's company, they can make some money. If they want to have assets, meaning owning the business, they're going to sacrifice first. And that's something we have to teach them. So which one do you want, young man, young woman? Do you want to be an asset immediately? Because you are. Black people are assets. We are assets. That's the point of oppressing us, because we are such good assets to other people. The problem is when we want to have assets instead of being an asset. Are you willing to fight for that? Because it's going to be a sacrifice at first. The day, I run a construction company with my ex-husband. The day that he started our construction company, he was fired from the one that he worked at that day. And I remember he came home, he looked at me, and he was like, they just let me go. They found out that we were starting a business. And I was like, then we got to do this thing. And we did. Every wife don't have that response. You see what I'm saying? And that's the reality of this.
So, Dr. G, question for you. What policy? So you've got some policy changes you're looking at, and what's your time frame? So first of all, do you know what the current numbers are in Jersey for black contractor, Jersey City? I mean,
Yes, me and Kiva. Yes, it's one and I looked at the numbers after I really did some deep dive, and I was like, wow, we're doing like 12, 13% lies, garbage, and trash. It's that national one, that 1%. However, I can look at personal wins and say, okay, policy needs to change, but the system is designed not to help, so we got to redesign the system. So in doing that, we have to then start saying, okay, what is working, what hasn't worked. So right now, we're under a new administration.
Yeah.
How now? This is no
Jersey City,
secret.
Jersey City.
In Jersey City, but the new administration is at $255 million deficit out the door. So me trying to sell them a program or tell them a program is not their priority. But to your point, we have always been an asset. But I have flipped it a little bit, sis, and we became a resource. Because you need that resource to get things done. And if we are the resource that we hold the antidote for what is ailing them, let them know where we are the doctors, where we are the people. And I was telling this to my granddaughter. I say, Mamacita, never take it for granted that you have a grandfather like me. And it's true, and it makes sense when it makes sense. She said, but Pop, all I know is to have you. So we look at the privilege. All they know is to have that. All they know is that, yo, I'm gonna give you a business, son. You my son. I'm Trump Jr. Here it is. I'm giving you the blueprint. We don't give the blueprint to our kids because, and it's, oh, there you go. That money is real important. So I used to work in corporate America, Pepsi Cola. My director who ran it, the president, he said, Gita, I like what you do. I'm going to give you a piece of the pie. I said, oh, no disrespect. Give me the ingredients. Because you like pumpkin, I like sweet potato. And it wasn't no disrespect, but because that piece only going to last me for a short while. The ingredients I'm going to be able to pass down for generations. And sometimes we don't set up for generational wealth. We don't set up for legacy. We don't set up for what tomorrow or the tomorrows with an S look like. We live for the right now, and the right now, even to your point, doesn't work. That 1% doesn't work. But until we have policy, until we fight, until me and the mayor of Jersey City get into that fight where, listen, we have to make that change. And I believe the new mayor will make that change. And I think he will start listening. But he has his own fight at hand. But I'm not letting down because I'm going to have to call Martin down the street, and Martin will be in Jersey City, and we'll just be coming down here. Whatever the case is. But the idea is that until you learn to partner with people who are of the right mindset, one accord, everybody, no matter where you're from, Virginia, Washington, California, if we have the right mindset to change, policy will happen, but we have to reimagine or redesign what they already put in place. And I was a part of that disparity study. We hired the guy, and we know where the problems are at. And I'll leave with this. One of them was saying that we buy black garbage bags every year. We spend money and money and money. My suggestion was to the previous administration, let's hire a minority black bag contractor and bring them to Jersey City, give them a place, let's set them up. Because now we're helping to infuse that business. They're going to help infuse the economy. They're going to hire locally. Oh, Jeter, that's too far-fetched. Meanwhile, your cousin still got the black garbage bag contract.
So we can tie with Jeter, with what Dr. Jeter just said, Martin. And you're doing some talk a little about some of the activities you've undertaken to change the policy, like the letters you've written, the organization you've built up, because you've taken that list and you've developed a group of minority contractors and have worked them. So
Yeah, so first and foremost, I'm your regular Joe. A lot of people in here, I told you, other meetings we've had, I'm like your uncle, your cousin, right? That's me. I don't have any advanced degrees. I'm none of that. I'm just a hardworking black guy from the street, right? Pretty much, right? Single parent home, brother died of AIDS, heroin addict when he was 15, whatever the story is. But that's who I am. And I figured out, if you tell me the game, show me the field, give me the ball, I'm going to run, right? So that's what happened with Kevin. Kevin says to me, Martin, we know you're angry, so figure out something. So I said, look, I signed up to be a minority. I had my cousin, she's partners with me in a trucking company, black-owned, beautiful woman. She's great. But anyway, so I got her to become a woman minority business enterprise. We're going to do all these great things, right? So that's what we did. And then all this stuff happens, and I find out the New Jersey disparity study, and I felt like I let her down, right? We jumped through all these hoops, and we ain't getting diddly squat, right? So I said, wait a minute. There's got to be other people like me, and I figured out that if you sign up, become a minority business enterprise, it's public information. So I got a list, and there's 4,000 minority business enterprises from the state of New Jersey. I said, if someone is a minority certified business, whether it was Asian or Hispanic or black, the numbers were pretty much the same. Hispanics got 1% of the business. Asians got like 1.2% of the business, and blacks, we way behind, right? 0.14%. So I said, if they know what's going on, they've got to be angry like me. And if they don't know what's going on, someone should tell them. And once they know what's going on, they'll be angry like me. So I wrote them all. I was going to write them all a letter. And I told Kevin, I'm going to write them all this one letter and tell them everything. Kevin said, slow down, slow down, slow down. He says, why don't you do this? Feed it to them a little bit at a time. Send them like 4 or 5 emails over time. So I said, okay. So the first email was, hey, do you know about the New Jersey disparity study? If not, here it is. Here's what it says. And then the second one was something like, hey, did you know the same thing happens on a federal level? Because federally, we get 0.5% of the contracts. Still not 1%, right? So then the third email was like, hey, did you ever think about doing something about it? And then the fourth email was, hey, I'm doing something about it. Will you join me? And I invited everybody to this meeting. So 25, 30 people come out. So that was the first thing Kevin had me do. Second thing was, he says, Martin, why don't you write to all your representatives and invite them, or these governors, the people who are running gubernatorial candidates, write to them, invite them to the meeting. I'm like, I'm going to invite them to the meeting, man? What, are you serious? No, do it. So, of course, I did it. And we got some traction there. And so I wrote to that. Then Kevin said, Martin, hey, listen, we've got some policy we're trying to change here. There's this tax, the tax bill of 2025 or whatever. He says, you should write to your representatives and see if they'll sign on to it. I'm saying, me? Yeah, write to them. So I wrote to him. I said, hey, I'm with the New Jersey Policy Initiative. We're back this bill, and we want you to back it too. And I think there was one person who had started this bill, and we got Representative MacGyver to sign on. She was the second person to sign, and then the third signed, and then it went to Washington, right? So we're doing that. We're writing to people. We're calling people. We're getting in people's faces. I had sent them. I sent the people who were running for the gubernatorial candidates. I sent them all an email that said, hey, you couldn't make it to our meeting, but there were 2 questions that came from the meeting that we want you to answer. And one was about the income disparity, right? The net worth disparity. Blacks have a family net worth of $20,000, while whites have a family net worth of $655,000. Like, why did this take place? And then the other question was about the government contracting. Why do we get 0.14%? And no one wrote back except for one, the former mayor of Jersey City, New Jersey. he wrote back, and he said, hey, or actually his assistant called me one night. I woke up around 8 o'clock at night. I'm taking a nap. Phone rings. I get on the phone, and it's this woman from his office. And she's saying, I'm calling about this email you sent. What are these questions you said you want them in writing? What is this? And it's really simple what it said. And I was all excited. I get to my computer and turn on the light, and I read it back to her. It's real simple, plain language. Answer these 2 questions in writing. And she's hemming and hawing and hemming and hawing. I got upset because I knew the woman was running a scam on me. She wasn't going to answer these questions. I started yelling at her. My wife said, Martin, are you crazy? And the woman even said, I didn't call you to yell at me, and she hung up on me. And then 10 minutes later, I got the questions answered from the mayor of Jersey City. They were powerful answers, too. I wish I could read them to you. If you'd fall out of your seat if you heard what he said. In plain English, he said what the story is in these situations. So listen, we got a bill to go all the way to Washington. We got a response from someone like that. As I told you, Mikey Sherrill had embedded somebody with us from day one. There's all kinds of other things that we're doing, but we're constantly reaching out and we're constantly doing things. We're constantly hitting at all levels. I don't care. I'll write to anybody at any level. And I'll go sit with anybody with all the confidence in the world, because that was my thing. I don't know what I'm doing, Keevan. But then I said, wait a minute, I got Keevan, so let me get a meeting, and I'm going to call Keevan, and Keevan's going to show up. And that's my mouthpiece. All I got to do is get my foot in the door, and I'm going to bring a whole bunch of people with me. So that's what we do, and that's what I inspire anyone to do, is that, listen, don't be a spectator. Get out of the stands. And some of the problems are too big for us to kind of take in one bite. I understand it. But if you want to go to bed and sleep well, knowing we're in the middle of this firefight, know that you did something today. I don't care how small it was. Know that you did something today. I mean, I did something with the New Jersey Policy Initiative, and it's getting bigger than I ever imagined. And again, this is not what I do. It's not what I do at all, right? I'm not a politician. I'm not interested in doing this. I just feel I have to. No one else is going to do it. And the win isn't for me. It's for all those people like me. So somebody's got to do it.
One more question for you. You actually told me an interesting story the other day. You were dealing with the Port Authority, I believe, and the young woman they hired to do minority contracts. It's like a really young woman from Brazil, never had a business, and it seems to me that that's one of the downsides of this government. So that they put people in place that are in charge of this, quote unquote, that don't have the skill sets. And you answer that, and then I'll run it back all the way to Marquita.
Yeah. So one of the good things is, and I try to do. There's 3,000 people that I email. 2,000 of them read all my emails. Right. These businesses. So I give them something bad, then I try to give them something good. Right. So like something good is Jersey City, Dr. Jeter. Right. He had a meeting where he's talking about blacks and getting in gun. So I'm like, you got to come to this meeting. Dr. Jeter, blah, blah, blah. Or the Port Authority had some contracts or a program that they were using, right? So I got involved with that and got some headway into Port Authority. Long story short, the person they have with this program, it's called the Local Business Enterprise. Instead of saying minority business anymore, Port Authority is kind of on top of it. They realize that's going away. So now it's Local Business Enterprise, and the project is Newark Airport. Newark's probably about 70% black. So now if you're in Newark, you get a leg up. Not because you're black, because you live in Newark, right? So, but anyway, it's a great program, and I'm trying to get involved with it and see what's going on. So now I've got some leeway in there, and they're talking to me. But the thing is, the person running the program, as he said, it's a young woman that's been on the job 6 months. She's a minority, but she's a Brazilian. She's from Brazil. She doesn't know much about black people and what really's gone on in America all these years. So that's what's taking place. But the good thing is I'm there and can do her job better than she can. So she sees me as an opportunity maybe to do her job better. And as I get more leverage, it's more leverage for the people who I write to. It's for people who are minorities. And it's anything we can do to get our foot in the door, whether it's writing to your governor, writing to your reps, writing to your local people, whether it's finding people like Dr. Jeter and leaning into him to help you, or even the Port Authority when someone's there but not capable, but getting my foot in the door long enough to be able to get something done is all that really matters, I think.
So, Dr. Jeter, last question to you is, what can we do to help you in Jersey City do your job better, to get more people in Gotham?
Well, after this, Sister Marquita gonna be my best friend. What it is I'm always trying to surround myself with people who are actually doing the work. Because if I'm in the front where I could bring it to the people that the powers that be, give me the information to present to them. Because most of the time I try to create a think tank episode where people are telling me what's going on. Because I don't do construction. I don't do that. You know, I do substance abuse, I do teaching, I do this, but I don't do that. So help me be a better advocate for you by giving me the right information, by being able to articulate or put it in writing so that I can articulate it for you. But sometimes, and I understand the fight, I understand the frustration, because if you've been fighting for so long and somebody else tell you to write something else, to do something else, for something else, for something else that never happens, I'm just like talking to myself. So what I've done, and I've got a good following thus far within Jersey City. To Martin's part, I created a supply diversity list. When I took over the office, it was like maybe 70 to 100 people, small businesses. There's over 1,400 small businesses that can do business with the city if the city decides to use them. And I don't just do contractors, I do restaurants, I do anybody of minority event space, whatever I believe that the city buys, that list is there. And you can filter it by women, so what I've done is tuck the guesswork out, and here it is for you. So what I'm trying to do is to eliminate the excuses. Oh, you need a woman? Marquita, I got somebody. I'm here to tell you who you could go to without all of that rigmarole. However, I keep saying, even to this day, to the day when you said it again, I need to stay in the room. I was like, man, I'm ready to get out this room. But understand, I have to stay in the room so that I can bring my brother and my sister in to those rooms, or at least have the input or the battery that they put in my back so that I can give it to them the right way. Because I want to be able to say, we need 10 nails, 4 hammers, this, that, or another, so that the project can get done. And if I can be an advocate, if I can help one, there's small stories that I was telling Martin that I've helped, but it's not big enough. It has not really made a dent. And Kevin, you bust my bubble when you gave me that information that made me rethink everything that I thought I was doing right. But I've never been a person that is not willing for a challenge, but also take direction and correction and to be better for not just me. Because a lot of times we're self-serving. That's not me. God has not made me that way. I am a servant first and foremost.
That's why you're the right person for the room.
Okay, Kevin, I got it. But the idea is that I want to be an advocate, but I want to be the right advocate, and I want the right tools and skill set to bring it to the people that be. Because sometimes they listen to me because I have the credentials. And it's sad. I'm the same Floyd Jeter, but until I say, well, I'm Dr. Floyd Jeter, masters of this and certified of that, I don't get this. So I don't always want that, but sometimes you have to use what you got to get what you need.
Yeah. Marquita. So we'll close you out with, the Virginia Economic Initiative is coming online, or Central Virginia. What are some of your top line, like systemic activities you're going to work on?
So I actually have a heart for kind of pieces of what both of them do, in that I think it's important to affect change at the policy level. We're right in Richmond, so we're right there at the Capitol. We've got a new administration in Virginia who promised a whole bunch of stuff. And so, we're at that place where certainly we can affect change and influence them. So certainly we want to do that. We come right up the road to DC. It took me an hour and a half to get here yesterday. Not far, you know what I mean? So we can affect change in the state level and even in the national level, representing, you know, the first colony, because, you know, we're Virginia. That's it. We can always say that. But we should be affecting change. We should absolutely be doing that at the federal level. So being able to influence policy, you know, I'm certainly taking a page out of Martin's book, because he's done some great work, and so we want to be able to do that. But I want to bring together business owners that we can train as well. And so that's why I said, you know, a piece from Dr. Jeter's book, in that really helping them to advance their businesses. Because when you are a collective group and the group is full of successful people, see that, then they listen to what you have to say. You see what I'm saying? Not just disgruntled people, not just people who, you know, haven't made it. Like, no, you know, my business has done well in spite of you guys. Like, you understand what I mean? So now you do need to listen to me. You see what I mean? And this is the piece that I want to train them in, because I certainly agree with my sister Wendy Muhammad in that, you know, it's best if we just build ourselves and don't take things from them. So, you know, it was my ex-husband's idea to be a part of the SBA 8A program. You know, I don't care nothing about that. You know, we built it ourselves. So here now that we've got all the DEI stuff going away, we get a letter from the SBA, from the 8A program. It's actually coming from the federal SBA, saying, you know, there's been reported abuse and corruption and fraud in the 8A program. And so we want to be diligent, and we want to check on all of these 8A contractors, and they required all types of stuff. We're talking about bank statements. We're talking about, you know, our contractors list, you know, the people we've partnered with, all the contracts we've received, our employee list, like everything. And, you know, I called my lawyers and I was like, do we have to give them this? And she was like, well, you're in the program. And when you got in the program, you signed saying if they request information, you would give it to them. And I'm thinking, you know, I told him we need to be in this program. Like, you know what I mean? But, no, here we go. So here I am and the whole admin team, we're gathering all this information. And we send it off, and I was like, let me just write the cover letter real quick. And they didn't have a place where, you know, they had a place where you put in all the documents. Put this document. And there was no place for the cover letter, so I put it in another place, in one of those other documents. And in that cover letter, I wrote, because we are part of this program, we're compliant in sharing all the information that you've requested, except to list all the contracts we've received through the 8A program, and this was in all caps, because we have not received any contracts from the 8A program, exclamation point. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me directly so that I can answer them for you. And that went in the slot where I was supposed to put the contracts that I received from the 8A program. And let me just tell you, I was very happy to write that letter. Point being, training them to not be a part of the programs. Because if they do help you, they take more than they give. Mm-hmm. They require so much. And then if something happens in the climate, now you've been looking like you've been getting a handout. Yeah. When even in the programs, you have to work for everything. They don't give anybody anything. So it's best to be able to go around the programs, and then we're going to affect policy change. We're going to affect change in the industry. Got to also affect your industry. Yeah. You got to make change in your industry. But when you become an industry leader, it's so much easier to affect change in your industry. Yeah. You see what I mean? Which is hard. We're pushing this rock up a hill. But we can do it if we work together and we give our kids a little leverage, a little leg up. We help them fund some things. We do some things on their behalf. We encourage them, before you start your business, make sure your credit is amazing, because nobody's going to give you anything. They didn't want to give us business loans. I had a 750. You don't qualify for this loan. Well, who qualifies for the loan? If I don't qualify, like, what is your requirement? You see what I mean? So we're funding things ourselves, self-funding. Having to teach the kids to prepare for those things, so that they can really build some wealth. Now, my son, he's able to start his own business because we were able to give him a certain amount. When he graduates, he can buy a house, he can start his business, blah, 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 because that's what they do. You know what I mean? He can take over this business if he wants to. You see what I mean? But he's not starting from nothing. He's able to build upon something, and it makes all the difference in the world.
I'll say this. So we have several letters that we're going to ask people to sign on to. One of them is to the SBA and to the DBA program. the official position of PHYSIC is, we're perfectly happy for Trump to disrupt the 8A program and a bunch of other things, since they weren't working for us anyway.
Right.
So, and our idea is to come up with a future plan of what the the systemic changes need to be. But I do think we need to take away, because most people believe that 30% of government contracts go to minorities. I mean, that is a common belief. So the fact that it's 0.14% is something that we want to make sure we don't give. Not going to let them take credit for something they didn't. So they didn't. They're trying to hurt us, but we're against the debt ceiling. Like we're against increasing the debt ceiling. Like we shouldn't borrow money from the Chinese or the Indians to pay for government that we don't want. If rich people don't want to pay taxes, then we just cut the budget. Medicare. We're talking about Medicare. We're 20% of Medicare, or Medicaid, or whatever. So they want to cut the Medicaid program for 80% of people. We're willing to let them. So we're taken away from their ability to hurt us. So this conversation is incredibly important. We have time for questions.
The good thing about all this is that there's a lot of fraud out there, and they're looking in the wrong place. So we're going, yeah, there's fraud. You need to find it. Because the money's not going where it's supposed to go. So
Yeah.
we have an opportunity.
Yep, absolutely. Questions? So, go ahead, Denise.
My question is, thank you for all the comments that you provided. We're talking about now that they're putting a hold on a lot of these programs. So an incomer coming in, do you recommend that they just don't bother trying to participate in this program?
Yes, that's exactly what I recommend. Do not participate in the programs. Build it yourself, because when things shift, it won't negatively affect you. And like I said, we didn't receive anything, but because we signed, we had to give them everything. So we're having to give you information about things you didn't even help us do because we are part of the program. So yeah, no, I would suggest not to be a part of it.
You go down there. I'll say my personal opinion is you don't let anything pass. I mean, there's a what is it, $1.2 trillion worth of construction contracting out there. Whether you get it or not, you got to be in the game. You can't even sue unless you're in the game. So I mean, like so I'm like, it's like they want you not to. That way they say, well, no one ever applies. They always say no one ever applies. So we didn't have anyone. So if it's our tax dollars. I mean, you pay all of us pay taxes. That's where that tax money goes. So I'm against.
Spend money to get in a game and you never get the ball?
Go ahead.
So there was, as I said, working with pushing up on the Port Authority. Things happen, right? So the Port Authority had a big meeting for minorities. So I go to this meeting. So I'm at the meeting, and I'm looking around to see who is the top dog in this meeting, because I'm going to talk to him after the meeting. So I see the guy, he's the top dog. You could tell when he spoke, everybody jumped to attention. I said, that's the guy I'm going to speak to. I go to this guy, and I speak to him. Introduce myself, tell him what I'm doing. He says, all right, give me your card. We can talk, blah, blah, blah. After the meeting, I leave, and I pick my daughter up. The meeting was in Newark. She works in Newark. I pick her up, and she has to know all my business. So we stop by this restaurant to get some food to take home. We had to wait for it, so we're sitting at tables. So she wants to know, what meeting were you at today? And who did you speak to? And now I got this top dogs card from the Port Authority in New York, New Jersey. Every bridge, tunnel, boat, rail, they own everything. Airport, everything. This is huge, Port Authority. So I pull out my card to the top dog. I slam it on the table. I said, Devin, that's who I spoke to. She looked at me like I was crazy. She said, Martin, you met with Zach? I said, how you know Zach? She said, Martin, you know Zach. I said, how do I know Zach? She said, Zach hired me. I said, you got to be kidding me. And she said, when she got hired, I was getting a heart transplant, and that's all she spoke about every day was her concern about me and this heart transplant. So Zach knew all about me. So my point is, you don't know what's going to happen unless you get involved. So I'm involved. Now I got this inside connect at Port Authority. So he's not really helping me yet, and I'm not pushing up on him yet. But they had a meeting, to answer your question, they had a meeting for a special invitation for a vending, right? They called it some kind of vending, but people thought, and I sent it out to this organization, right, to 3,000 people. I sent them and said, hey, there's a special invite only for this opportunity to do this vending. And everybody thinks like I think it's vending for inside the airport. You know, this expensive airports, and you got a vending now. I'm selling hamburgers, hot dogs, whatever in the airport. You're like, oh, a lot of people jumped at the opportunity. Well, we find out that it's only for a vending machine like candy or something like that, right? Not even in the airport, but way over there by where you park and get on the rail, right? So I'm like, what a scam this is, right? But I said, I want somebody in my organization to make it happen anyway, because I want to just get in somehow, right? So part of it said you could have partnerships. So I got a guy who's in my organization who his thing is ATMs. A Spanish guy does ATMs all over New Jersey. And so I had called him up. I said, hey, I want you to go for this contract. But part of the criteria is you have to be a vendor. You have to be in this business for over 3 years. So I said, listen, man, I want you to be the lead on this, but they say partnerships is okay. So I'm gonna be on your partnership, and I'm gonna go find a person who's been in business doing this. So I called all of the big-time vendors in New Jersey, introduced the opportunity, and I got one of the biggest top dogs in New Jersey, a white guy, who has a vending company. And he said, Martin, I'd be glad to help you do this. He said, I ain't got nothing to lose. He said, I'm not bidding for it anyway, and if I can help you, I'll help you. So now we're going to go in with this opportunity, and we're going to have, my application is going to be 100%, because I got one of the biggest white guys in the industry on the team. He's going to tell us everything we need to know. So now, if we get in, this Spanish guy with the ATMs, now maybe he can get his ATMs in there. I'm on the team, so I know how they do business. I'm getting in the rooms. Nobody's gonna make any money off one vending machine, but it's gonna get us in the door. And it's gonna give us an opportunity to make noise and speak with the right people. Am I gonna get a contract this week or this month or this year? No. But in the future, I might. I can help people like you, people like us, get contracts. And eventually, who knows, maybe it'll work for me. There's a motivational speaker I love named Zig Ziglar, passed away a while ago, but he always says, you can have anything you want in life if you'll only help enough other people get what they want. So why not go to the Port Authority and stick my nose in this stuff, right? And tell people who are behind me in the New Jersey Policy Initiative what they can do, team up, do this, you go, you go, you go. So we're going for these contracts. We'll eventually get a contract, and hopefully, but to answer your question, I say don't walk away from it. Don't expect to make any money from it, but don't walk away from it.
Real quick, when I would say two things from my observation in Metro Atlanta. Number one, the affirmative action, not the affirmative action, the women's own all these programs were not really, black men, we just got left out. We got pushed aside. And black women got a percentage, but most of the white women got everything. The other thing that I strongly believe in, I believe in not bidding on the contract, but building a bid. As long as they allow you to build a bid, write the RFP and doesn't disqualify you, that's the best way in. As someone who's done business development, and we have always 98 to 99%, we won those bids when we helped them, the buying agent build that bid.
Be the resource.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Gotta be the resource.
Two more, one here.
Just really quick, at the basic level, we have women and men who have no clue about government contracts and come to our community organization. How do you recommend they get at the basic level? Because a lot of times they can't afford a grant writer, they don't know about 8A or any of those terms. Who do you recommend they go to, or can they come to people like you to get the help they need?
They should certainly come to people like us to get the aid they need. Because I see it all the time. So people don't see themselves in this whole process. They don't, you know what I mean? Like, so I was telling the people from the Port Authority, I said, you have all these classes and you tell these people, like the one I went to, it was about a vending machine. It wasn't about being a vendor in the airport, but we didn't know. So unless you go there, So yeah, I would say the most important thing is to find somebody who's already in there, already doing something, already knows something about it, already has an experience. Because if you just start off from ground level, zero by yourself, you're going to lose.
Can I add to that? From the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, I have something that's called Doing Business with Jersey City, but I do numerous workshops with NJCU, the colleges. And what we do is workshops, how to do business, bookkeeping, grant writing, access to capital, all of these things so that the small business or the new business can have a leg up, so to speak. And we give them data, we give them numbers, but we also help them create a business plan. So we'll send them to New Jersey Small Business. So I have a lot of partners. And when I say that, is collaboration with me is so important because I don't have all the resources from the city. So I use the colleges, I use anchor institutions. And I have noticed that I've become such a resource that even the mayor sends the cannabis people to me. They send everybody to me. Ask Gina, he knows this person, he knows. Because you want to be that guy or that person that can take them to the next level or at least give them enough to get their feet wet. You may not have all the answers, but I'll be damned if I can't get you in a room with someone who can answer your questions.
And then, of course, y'all know my answer is that talk to a person like myself who's on the other side of it, meaning been where you are, got through it, is successful, and can help you avoid some pitfalls and help you really build from the ground up, which is what I do with Kingdom Wealth, is help people to build from the ground up. And things that we do together as well. Like we got this whole community initiative that actually helps to build those things from the ground up as well. Yep, you have one person back there. Her hand's been up for a while.
I had a thought about something you said earlier, and I'd love to know what your thoughts are on it. You mentioned that with all that they were trying to get rid of, all these DEI and minority-based things. My thought was, could this possibly be a Trojan horse that helps us to change perspective? That seems to be the hardest thing that we've had to come up against all this time. Because I think we're getting a handout, whether it was affirmative action or whatever it is. So if you now take all these things away, right, and we're also focused on going around the system anyway and doing well, you take these things away, and then I think what the word was talking about earlier, the poor whites that are looking for somebody to blame, those things are gone, and my situation is still the same.
Yeah.
Maybe something's not right. Maybe it's a catalyst that can be, if it goes that far, for us to actually affect change because of that shift in perspective that we so badly need.
Yes, I think it has gone that far. Yes, I think that's exactly what we need to be doing. This is something Keevan was talking about right now. And I think that's no matter what happens in the future, because what I've seen in this country is that we're going back and forth between extremes. So whatever happens after this next administration, it's going to be extreme to the other side, in which case they might want to give everything to minorities. We still need to build it ourselves. Because no matter what happens in the political environment, that cannot be removed from us, our own personal success and what we've learned from building it ourselves. And this builds our community and it builds our personal wealth. And so that is always what I'm a proponent for. And I think in this moment, this is when we need to do it and collaborate. It's not gonna work if we're not working together.
And minority doesn't mean minority for everybody, right? I mean, so the DBEs and those programs never accrue to our benefit. So even if they get, like Jersey City's had a Democratic governor for 12 years, they still only have 0.14% of government contracts. So that is conceptually, even if the pendulum swings all the way back, I don't care how far left it goes, it doesn't mean.
And if I could just add to that, this has been one of my things here recently. Very honestly, they tacked every group onto African Americans that they could. Mm-hmm. Everybody's been tacked onto us. Mm-hmm. So when they have a problem with any of those groups, they have a problem with all of the groups, which is why we don't need that anymore. We don't need stuff tacked. We need to just do what we need to do, because as soon as they tack a million other different groups onto us, then there's an issue with those other groups, then that's all of us. And this is what's happening right now, which is why we need to keep doing what we've been doing. We've always been doing it since being left out of slavery with nothing. We've always done it. It's time to keep doing that.